Good morning, West State Street Wesleyan Church, family and friends, and those that might be watching today from Brookhaven Wesleyan Church for some unusual reason. Happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers that are watching. As you can tell, if you've watched my other sermons from the past few weeks, this is a different location. I'm not in my office. I'm not in the youth room with the pallet board background. Welcome to my mom and dad's house, and welcome to my special guest today, my mother, Marilyn Van Sice. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
Happy Mother's Day.
Pastor Dan.
Yeah. I wanted to do this special video today for several reasons. Of course, it's Mother's Day, and I wanted to honor my godly mother and wish her a happy Mother's Day, but I also wanted to let this video kind of be a video that will bring back memories to those who are current mothers or have mothered kids in the past. Maybe it's been a while since you've had kids in the home. This will just bring back some memories. Maybe those of you that are watching that have been mothers, maybe you answer the questions right along with my mom. But I also wanted it to help those who are currently mothering, as well as to hopefully be some helpful inspiration to those that will be mothers. There's a couple that are close to Mom's heart. My oldest is now married, and her second oldest grandchild will be getting married in August. Can you believe that?
No.
And maybe soon to be mothers, soon to be, might be that my mom will be a great grandmother. Can you? Oh my goodness! Did I have to bring that up? No, you didn't want me to bring that up.
You're not telling us anything.
But also, I just wanted this video to be something that brings appreciation for godly families, fathers and mothers who live in a covenant relationship for a long period of time, that pass on godly values to their children, and hopefully they pass it on to their children. There's just nothing greater in this world than meeting families through the church. I've had this experience, but also through the funeral home. Families that have a deep, settled peace and contentment in life, and it's usually because there's that long covenant relationship between the husband and wife. They've passed on godly values to their kids, and their kids are passing on those values to their kids. And it's just, there's no better way to live life than to live it that way. So we want to celebrate godly families today. And so I thought I'd bring in my mother today, and so that both of us, neither of us are comfortable with this. Neither of us like cameras, and so I thought, well, might as well have somebody be uncomfortable in front of the camera with me today.
Definitely.
Maybe that will make us both a little bit more comfortable. It might just add more uncomfortableness to it. But just going to ask my mom some questions today, just to give you a little bit of a background about my mom and about our family. I am a third generation pastor. My mom is a pastor's kid. Her dad, Alvin, was a longtime pastor, and so her mom was a pastor's wife. So then my mom was a pastor's wife, married to, as many of you know, Robert Van Sice at Brookhaven Wesleyan Church, retired from there. And then now I'm a pastor. My brother, Paul, is a pastor at Bryant Wesleyan Church, and my sister, Melinda, is married to a pastor, Rob Tippy, who pastors at Fairmount Wesleyan Church. So you can see where the faith has been passed along from generation to generation to generation. And so something that my parents and my grandparents have done was done right. And so we want to celebrate those things and just ask some questions to Mom today to get her thoughts on motherhood and those kind of things. So I'll shut up now and I'll ask some questions, and we'll have some fun with this. So first of all, Mom, what was your greatest joy? What is the greatest joy? I know there's a lot of frustrations, but what was your greatest joy in being a mother?
I guess just being a mother. And each child brought you a different kind of, each child, I think you're going to ask, are unique or not? Is that one of the questions?
One of the questions, but we skipped over that one.
Okay, well, I'll bring it in because I studied on that one. Each child is unique, each child is different, and so therefore you have, I guess, joys from each child that you don't really think about, and but the joy of just being a mother, when you hold that newborn baby for the first time and see the miracle that God has performed, then that definitely brings you joy. And then also, I think as they grow up, the joy continues in the fact that you want them all to serve the Lord and to become Christians. And I have had the privilege of knowing that all my children are Christians and they have married Christian spouses. And I think all of our grandchildren are serving the Lord. And that brings great joy to my heart.
You had a scripture verse that you shared with me when we were discussing this.
Yes. I just found it. In fact, I just found it the other day. And it's in 3 John, and it says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. And that is what it's all about, is knowing that your children are walking with God.
Thank you, Mom. Did you hear that? I bring my mom joy just by being here, just by being me, and that makes me feel good. That's a great thing. The second question that I thought I had, by the way, church family, I had 12 questions, so you're only going to hear answers from about 5 of them, so know that we won't be here all afternoon, so.
Thank goodness.
Second question was balance. We oftentimes, just in general, people talk about how hard it is to maintain a balance in life. Was it hard to balance the various roles you played? Being a spouse while at the same time being a child yourself, working outside the home, and being a mother, and then also add to that being a Christian mother. Was it hard to find a balance in all the various roles that you played?
I don't think it was really hard to find that balance. I think you just do what comes naturally. Each day, if you have a job, you go to work and then you work that job into your home life, and it sort of balances out itself. And then if you have children, it just all comes together. And
so one of the things we were talking about is that you just kind of take life as it comes. So in one instant, you're definitely the mother role takes priority.
Right.
In other instances, you need to be the spouse to your husband. So you just kind of take life as it comes, and it'll work itself out. Yep. Was there someone who was your biggest support, your biggest helper, your biggest mentor? One of the things that led me to ask this question was I just think it's so important in life that we have people that we can turn to at any time in life. I talked to my church family about a couple of friends that I have that I can go to no matter what, at any time. I can share with them anything, and they are of a great support to me. So was there someone like that in your life, a helper, a mentor, especially during early motherhood time where you're just starting to figure this thing out?
The first one that comes to my mind would be my own mother, and she gave me lots of advice and was there when I needed her. Even though we lived quite a ways apart, I remember one time, I think I was pregnant for Melinda. I got the flu and was really sick and had both you boys, and she lived probably at that time almost 2 hours away. And she was a pastor's wife. They were having a weekend meeting. But I remember she came over and spent Saturday taking care of me and getting my home, helping get my home in order for the weekend and helping take care of my kids. And then she had to turn around and go home and probably prepare for Sunday meal and prepare for their weekend at their church. But I never forgot the fact that you could always call home and Mom would be there. And then she passed away when she was very young, only 54. And there's something about a mom that no one can take her place. And even as you kids have gotten older, or we're getting older, sometimes I would like to just call Mom and tell her of the different things that you were doing and how proud I was of my kids. And so enjoy your moms while you have them.
Very good.
And
one of the reasons I'm doing this, I've talked to several people in our church, and a lot of them have lost their moms and say, you know, what I wouldn't give to have one more talk, one more moment. So here we are.
Yeah.
Mom didn't want to do this, I'll tell you that, but she's gracious and willing to do it. But you just got to have that someone in your life, young mothers to be, that you can turn to, that you can share your issues and struggles with, because and rely on these people for godly wisdom and advice. Especially look up to your mother or other mothers that have been around and have done it for a while. They'll be able to help you. Next question, deep breath, Mama. We're almost there. We're almost done. There's a verse in Proverbs, many of you know it well. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, train up a child in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not depart from it. The question then is, in what ways did you train your children, and what do you see in them, what do you see in us that you would think you had a hand in? I wanted my mom to brag on herself a little bit. Of course, she's not going to do that.
Of course not.
But what kind of things do you think that you had a hand in instilling in us now that we're on our own and raised, and the things you see in us that you think that you might have had a hand in instilling in us?
I don't know as I could put my hand right on any certain thing that I felt that I had a hand in. I do see compassion, I see caring, I see loving other people in all you kids. I see dedication, especially to the Lord and to your ministry. We were talking though of maybe when they're little, you need to instill scriptures, tell them Bible stories, maybe how important it is to go to church and be in church. And then I think teaching them, we were just talking, teaching them tithing early. Maybe if they just make $1, then teach them to give that 10% to God. And I think if you give to the Lord what He expects us to give, He will take care of us. That doesn't mean He will supply every need that we have, but He will take care of us.
Yep. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but as I live in Marion along with my parents also live here in Marion, usually about once a month now, or quite often, I'll go places and I'll hear, you're Pastor Bob's son, aren't you? You're Pastor Bob. your dad used to pastor at Brookhaven, or something along that. Believe it or not, the other night I was in Muncie, Indiana at Ball Memorial Hospital in the middle of the night. And as I made a call to the floor nurse, I was working for the funeral home doing a removal. I called the floor nurse and said, "This is Dan Van Sice. I'm here at the hospital for the removal." She said, "Are you Pastor Bob Van Sice's son?" I was like, "What in the world?" Ball Memorial Hospital in the middle of the night, but this was somebody who lived down the road from my parents when they pastored at Newcastle Mount Zion. So oftentimes I get, "Are you Pastor Bob's son? Are you Pastor Bob's son?" People recognize the Van Sice name through my dad, but it was Mom that really was the rock of our family. You know, we fathers are usually very busy about our business at home and in our jobs, but it's mothers who do a lot of the training at home. And Mom was a very faithful example of Jesus Christ to us, and I think we are very much who we are today and where we are today because of Mom, as much as Dad. Dad gets kind of all the credit for knowing a lot of people because he's up front, but it was Mom who quietly was the example of Christ to us. Question number 10 says this: mothers bring calm and order where there is sometimes chaos. Proverbs 31:27 talks, the whole chapter of Proverbs 31 talks about godly women and godly wives. And verse 27 says, "She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." So I wanted Mom to talk a little bit about how, you know, because for me, if I was ever sick or I was ever hurt or if I had a broken relationship, say the first girlfriend breakup, it wasn't Dad I wanted to go to for comfort, for advice. It was Mom. Do you have anything to say in regards to that?
Well, I think one thing, moms feel, they sort of know when something's not right with a child. But I do think that if a child is sick or anything, they definitely want Mom. And no matter what is going on, I think God gives us the strength that we need to go through it. If it's setting up with a sick child, if it's something that has happened, if it is a breakup, a teenage breakup, or I think there's just something about having Mom there because Mom understands. She may not say anything, she may not do a whole lot, but I think just having that hug from Mom or knowing that Mom is there, and sometimes we can say, "Yeah, we've been through it, and you'll get through it too." But yeah, just being there for them and loving them through it.
Very good. We got into the conversation as we were going through this about just some of the first kind of things we like to appreciate having Mom there. I don't know, I can't remember so much about my first driving skills and experiences, but my kids would prefer to their first driving experience to be with their mother than with me, probably because I'm a little more critical, probably not as patient as Mom is. Moms just have that way of calming a situation that can be scary, frightening, nervous, hard, just a struggle. Moms are just gifted in that way. Last question for Mom. I know you would love for me to ask a whole lot more of her and find out more gritty, nitty-gritty details of my growing up years and those kind of things, but just question number 11 on my sheet was this: as we grew older and became more independent, how hard was it to release us into the world and into God's care?
I don't think I had too much trouble in that area, although it was hard, but I think if you've done what you feel that you have done with God's help, and that there again, if they are serving the Lord and doing what they felt they're called to do, then I think you can release them, and you release them into God's care, and turn them over to Him and let Him take care of their adult life. And but a lot depends on if they make good choices, if they have a Christian spouse, if they listen to the Lord and do what He would have them to do.
One of the things we agreed upon, now that I'm a father as well, is that we understand that our children are a gift from God, that they're not ours to begin with.
Right.
Sure, God blessed us with being able to have them and that kind of thing, but they're like a lot of things in this life, they're a blessing from God. So our kids are kind of on loan to us.
Right.
He allows us to raise them.
Yeah.
They're not ours in the first place. And so that makes it, if you have that frame of mind, that makes it a little bit easier to release control and let them mature in the way that they should. Again, as you've raised them properly with godly wisdom, it's a lot easier than in letting them go. And of course, you never fully let them go.
No.
God continues to allow you to be, you're always their parent.
Right.
For life.
Yeah. You still do a lot of praying.
Yeah. So what you didn't hear today is what we some of the stories that came out. We got together yesterday. I made my mom a breakfast for Mother's Day.
He's a good cook.
And we discussed some of this. There was a lot of stories. Paul Melinda, I heard stories that I hadn't remembered about you, and then of course then I shared stories that Mom and Dad didn't fully remember either. So it was a good time. So I encourage you, mothers, fathers that are watching this video, answer these questions for yourself. Answer them together. How would you answer these? Some of the other questions, I'll just run through them really quickly. Some of the other questions that you might want to look to is, every child is unique. How do you uniquely deal with your unique children? That's an interesting question. What did becoming a mother change? How did that change your thoughts about God? I know that becoming a father myself, I had a much greater appreciation for the grace and mercy of God toward me. There's nothing that can separate me from the love of my kids. Nothing that they do would ever cause me to love them less. So I appreciate God's grace and forgiveness toward me in becoming a father. So you might want to consider that. How do you balance teaching your kids how to live life well, but also allow them to learn life through living life themselves? Sometimes we need to, we've done what we can do to teach our kids. Sometimes they just need to learn the tough lessons themselves by living life.
And then be there when they...
Be there when they struggle and make mistakes and those kind of things. It will happen. Another question was, they say you learn parenting best through experience. I was telling Mom that, we can read these books on parenting and the how-tos, but sometimes you just learn parenting best by being the parent, experience, living life with your kids. Then the last question is more of a statement, I guess, and I close with this. One of the greatest things that you can do for your kids in your marriage, moms, dads, if you're listening, one of the greatest things you can do for your kids is to put God first in your home. Put God first, then your spouse, then your love for your kids. There's a lot of broken situations, broken homes that I've seen, and a lot of it comes from the fact that a mother will love her kids, more than she loves her spouse. But we got to keep our priorities straight. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about my parents a lot, about my mom, is God came first in our home. God came first. Then mom loved her husband deeply, and still does, and their marriage is strong and going on. And they taught us children the biggest lesson about marriage by their having a strong marriage. And then you love your kids. Certainly, you love your kids unconditionally with the love of God. But that proper order needs to be put in place. So thank you, Mama, for joining me today. Yes.
And it does take time and effort to make that marriage what it should be.
Takes some work, doesn't it?
Yes. And then for those kids to see that.
Yep.
And so you need to take time for each other.
For sure.
Put God first, and then
we could probably talk for yesterday when I made Mom breakfast, and we probably sat at the dining room 2 hours just sharing stories and talking about marriage and parenting and life, and it's been a good week, and
yes,
I enjoyed
that. Enjoyed that. I don't know about this, but I enjoyed that.
So Mom's breathing a little more deeply now as we're coming to the end of this. So thanks, Mom, for joining me. Love you.
Love you too.
I will be again letting you know, church family, more instructions in the weeks to come as we get ready to get back together again. Looking forward to seeing people again face to face. Love on your mothers today, and those that are missing Mama today, just remember the good days. Remember the good times. Remember the good words of advice, especially from those godly mothers to be. I hope there's something within this video that you will learn from and grow from and take to heart. And thank you for watching, and God